In the lecture before, we talked a lot about LORAs, but I know that this is just theory and that the concept about LORAs can be a little bit confusing in the beginning when you never actually used a LORA. And to change that, I prepared a little example to show you how LORAs in Fooocus actually work. As you can see, I already selected a LORA, and it's a LORA to inpaint this nice looking red and black high heels. If you find a LoRa like this on a platform like Civit AI, the first thing you want to do is to download this specific number. And you learned this in the lecture before. It's by right-clicking here on the download button, then you get a link, and within that link you find exactly that number. And then you will save that number. Good. Afterwards, it's time to go to your Google Colab. And here in this Google Colab, I already installed all you need to see to know how the LoRa works. We have this front part here, which is basically always the same. And then here in the back part, you have to insert this specific number of the particular LoRa, which we did here. And after that, you have to insert your personal API token of Civit AI, which I already did here, but I censored it as it is my personal API token. Then up here we have a base model, which is the realism engine, and afterwards the LoRa. And how you do all that, we already learned in other lections of the course. Good. After that, you can start with the Inpainting, and later we will also do this live in Fooocus to show you how it really works, but I want to show you some examples I did with exactly that LoRa. As you can see, I started with the image of this girl wearing these black high heels, and then I applied the LoRa, and afterwards I got this nice looking red and black high heels, and it worked really good. On here on the right side, you will find the settings are used to achieve exactly that result. And here you see that you really can change exactly specific details in the image, and the LoRa will tell you before the editing how the result will look like. So you can really select, for example, items or body parts or clothing and achieve very specific results. And you'll find also the settings and the example LoRa in the download section, so you can also test this for yourself. And then I have another example. Here you see a really spicy image. I had to censor a lot, but you see that also here I applied our LoRa to draw this nice looking shoe within the image. First it was just a naked foot, and afterwards we also have this nice looking high heel. Good. Now you know how the concept actually works and what kind of images you can expect. And now we will go into Fooocus and test this to replicate the results, and that you know where to click to get exactly these results. As you can see, I'm now in the starting screen of my Google Colab, and I already did some little changes. For example, in this line, you see the line for downloading the base model realism engine. And how this works, you also learned in prior lectures. And afterwards, we have the high heel LoRa, which you just saw in my slides. And this line here basically is exactly that example here, which you also find in the download section. So these lines of code, here you have to insert your personal API token, and then you have to paste this line exactly here. Here at the end is my personal API token. I guess I have to censor that. And yeah, that's it. Afterwards, we just have to fire up Fooocus, which we are going to do now. We have to run all the lines of code, and afterwards we are in the starting screen of Fooocus, and we can start with the actual process of inpainting our nice looking high heels. So we are connected now to Google Colab, and now I'm going to run all the lines of code, one each after each other. And when everything is done, we come back to that and we start with the actual inpainting. Good, the first line of code is done. Now I go down to the base model. I will download the realism engine. And when that is done, I will download the LoRa and afterwards we can really start with the process of inpainting our nice looking high heels. So now we are ready to start. We are in the starting screen of Fooocus, and now I will show you exactly what to click to apply the LoRa and to inpaint our nice looking high heels in an example image. Good. First of all, we go to input image to upload the image where we want to inpaint the high heels. So I already prepared one. Take this image and we put it in here. So it's uploaded now. After that, we zoom in a little bit and we just mark these high heels, which are already existing, but they look a little bit different. So we don't have to be too accurate here. Just draw a little bit over the edges like this. Good. Then we zoom out again, and after that we're good to go with that in-paint default mode, because there are different methods as you already know, but the default in this case is perfect. This is all we have to do here. Then we go up here and we have to insert a prompt, and you also find this in the download section. You can use exactly that prompt here. On Civit AI, the producer of that particular LoRa said that you don't need to use a trigger word, because some LoRas also need a trigger word, but he recommends this little prompt here to get a good result. But keep that in mind regarding the trigger words. Always look in Civit AI if a LoRa has a trigger word, and if the LoRa has a trigger word, you have to include that trigger word into your prompt to activate the LoRa. But in this case, we don't need a trigger word. We just can go with that little prompt. And now we can go on with our settings. So we go to advanced. We chose JPEG here, and we will create 3 images, maybe less if the first one is already good. We don't need to care about the aspect ratio because we do in painting. We choose quality, the styles, we leave them as they are, and then we are here in the models section. And here we choose the realism engine, and here in the LoRa section, we can choose our high heel LoRa. And if you click here, you see it's already loaded. It's the pump sheet safe tensors, whatever LoRa. This is the LoRa we just uploaded. And here you can select the LoRa weight. And you always have to play a little bit with the LoRa weight. I recommend to start with about 0.6 to 0.8, depending on the LoRa, but it's never too wrong to start with 0.8 in my personal opinion. Okay, this is all we have to do here. And afterwards, there's also another important parameter, and that is here in the advanced section in the developer debug mode in painting. If you scroll down here, you find this parameter, the in-painting denoising strength. Keep in mind that it can help to play with this little parameter. We start with 1, but if the results are too crazy or it doesn't match, it makes sense to go down a little bit to about 0.8. But we will start with 1 and we will see how it goes. Good. Then we can close this section here and we can start with the actual in-painting process. Good. I stopped the image creation at that point because I think we already got a really nice result. In the first image, it didn't work too good because the soles are still white or not really red. But if you look at the second image, the soles are red and the heel is shiny, how it should be. I think it looks absolutely perfect, and this is how a LoRa works. So now you have seen that with just in painting, selecting some settings and uploading a LoRa, you can achieve a very specific result. And you can achieve that result for almost everything. And if you go to civitai.com and have a look at exactly that LoRa's, you will see that you see how the final result will look like, more or less. Of course, it always has to do how you select the settings and which base models you use, but more or less you know what results to expect. And this is why I showed you all this information about LORAs, because you won't come about LORAs when you want to achieve very specific results. And one more time, I want to remind you to always check if there's a trigger word. If your LoRa needs a trigger word, you have to include it in the prompt. Otherwise, the LoRa won't work. Good. With that being said, that's enough for this lection, and we see us in the next one.